able to attend this session, remember we have our YouTube channel and all the social media platforms where you can watch, rewatch, and listen to the content. So without further ado, I want to introduce our wonderful speaker today. She has been living in Asia for 3 decades, and she has extensive knowledge in business culture in both Europe, Asia. Her name is Suzanne Schutz, and she is a master of Chinese metaphysics. And she also has a lot of knowledge gained from studies with different people. In 2014, she founded, and she's going to please repeat this in the right tone because maybe
I will.
This company was born from her awareness of the need to have more professional-based Chinese metaphysics in the culture and the service. So Suzanne has been uniquely positioned in her level of both experience in Chinese metaphysics, mastery, and her studies in the Grandmaster Dato Joey Yap, and holds 4 master degrees in Chinese metaphysics. So she's going to tell us more on the do's, don'ts, what are some misconceptions, how can we understand better what there is to come in this new Chinese New Year of the Water Tiger. So please, without further ado, welcome Suzanne Schutz here on our online space. How are you, Suzanne?
I'm very well. Thank you for the lovely introduction. That was really, really nice. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here and talk about the Water Tiger year that's coming.
Yeah, we are very, very excited. I know our audience has a lot of questions, but I want to start with you telling us more about how can we understand better this year? How can we in general understand what's happening in the new year?
Yeah, so let me maybe share my screen so I can talk a little bit more about what we can actually expect of the year of the Water Tiger. So just give me a second. Can you see my screen? Yeah, all right, cool.
Yes.
So so the Water Tiger year, obviously, we're all very excited to hopefully get out of the last 2 years that have been really, really draining. Both the metal rat, but also the metal ox year have been quite a test of our patience. And now the metal tiger, the Water Tiger year is coming in. And because the tiger is associated with the wood element, and it is combined with the water element, yeah, it's the Water Tiger year, water is needed to grow wood. So what that already indicates is that things are going to grow, things are going to actually start moving again, right? Whereas the last 2 years have really quite felt like a lot of stagnation. And so there will be renewed movement. However, renewed movement after a period of so much fear, after a period of so much uncertainty, is not necessarily only positive, yeah? So there are still quite a few pitfalls. It is a year that is very, very active. So it is a year where we will all need to kind of jump into motion again and stop procrastinating, so that if you think too hard about things or if you think too long about things, you will miss out on opportunities. Now, what we usually do in Chinese metaphysics is we associate each year with a hexagram of the I Ching oracle. And that gives us like a sort of an overview of what the year actually brings. Now, the hexagram or the oracle, the I Ching oracle, what it says about the year of the Water Tiger is that it is associated with what we call accomplishment. Now, on the surface, this sounds very positive. Yeah, you've accomplished something. This is fantastic, right? So it feels very good. But the tricky issue here is once you have accomplished everything, once you're at the peak, you cannot go any further because you've accomplished everything. So Therefore, from a Chinese metaphysics point of view, when we see this kind of hexagram, or when we see this oracle, we are not altogether happy about it, because what it means is, yes, there will be an upward trend. The start will be good, and then you reach the peak, and from there it's going down, meaning there will be risks, there will be setbacks. So translated, it means the starting will be good, the ending is chaos. That's what the oracle says. Now, before you get too scared about that last part of that sentence, the ending is chaos, it just generally means that the ending is not quite as smooth. So the second half of the year is not quite as smooth as the first half, which means that we need to prepare ourselves a little bit better. So you can't just rush into the year and just think, okay, well, now the pandemic is over and we will just kind of willy-nilly move ahead with our business plans, because there will be quite a lot of hidden threats. So all in all, we have identified 5 really big threats to businesses. And if you're aware of them and plan accordingly, you will actually be quite okay. The first one is a no-brainer, really. It's the pandemic hangover, which at least until the third quarter of 2023, so not just this year, but the third quarter of 2023, we do expect that the pandemic will still be around. Now, it doesn't mean that the restrictions will be around until then, but up until then, we will still have to somehow adjust our business practices and prepare up until the third quarter of 2023 to deal with pandemic related problems. And that obviously causes some digital fatigue. We cannot necessarily meet in person all the time. And the readjustments with respect to working from home, they will most likely not be done and over with this year. So that will be something that you have to just plan into your business plan. Now, the second big threat that we identify in terms of metaphysics when we look at the water tiger year is that there will be what we call the Great Resignation. A lot of people have already been let go, and a lot of people are actually resigning by themselves, because we redefine work quality now very, very differently than before. A lot of us have realized that we are really not happy in our job, especially now that we're working from home. And a lot of us have realized that there are other ways for us to make money. More and more people start their own small businesses. And this is actually now a really good time to do it, because a lot of businesses have gone out of business. They have gone bankrupt. So there are a lot of gaps in the market that can be filled by people who are innovative and creative. So the big resignation is not necessarily only something negative. If you see the gaps in the market and if you know how to fill it, you can start your own business now, because the threshold, the entry-level obstacles are basically gone. The third threat that we've identified is actually, it's the wealth gap in general. The middle class is basically being, I wouldn't want to say eradicated, but the middle class is really shrinking. So what we see is that a lot of middle class is actually falling down into the bottom of the pyramid here. And there's rich people are getting richer and richer in these times. However, it is also easier now to become rich, because the middle class has basically gone. And if you manage to fill the gaps in the market, you can actually make a lot of money now. But there are risks attached to it. The fourth threat are sustained tension, and when it comes to transfers of power. So the Taiwan issue is going to intensify. We've seen a lot of flexing of powers among superpowers. You just need to look at the Ukraine and Russia and all of that. I mean, it's it's a powder keg at the moment, and this will intensify. And then lastly, the fifth biggest threat to business is that there will most likely be a financial market collapse. Now, if it's not a complete collapse, it may be a slow rolling one that will start around the monkey month this year, which is around August, so summer to autumn. It may not be something that happens out of the blue unexpectedly. It's a slow rolling one, this one. And the problem really is that because of the pandemic, all the governments have essentially been printing money to save businesses, right? And so this may trigger a global financial collapse in the next few years, starting slowly by summer, autumn this year. Inflation obviously is a big issue because of governments just printing money. So this is what we need to really be aware of. And so you need to plan ahead for these kind of threats. So in that sense, yes, the water tiger year is moving. There will be a lot of new energy, not all of it good, but there are quite a few opportunities if you are actually able to tap into the opportunities. Now, when we look at economic trends overall in 2022, there are a few market segments that will be strengthening, that will be making a lot of money. And then there's a few that are weakening. Now, as you can see, in the ones that are strengthening, anything to do with IT, e-learning, edutech, digital, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and of course, pharmaceutical and biochemical engineering. All of these things are on the rise, and that will be ongoing. So that will not finish after 2022. This is a trend that we are predicting to strengthen over the next, I would say, at least 12, 15 years. Yeah. Whereas when you look at the weakening industries here, these are industries that have generally suffered greatly under COVID during the pandemic. And this is these kind of industries, they need to learn to transition into something that is actually practical, that can actually be put online. Now, the one thing that is surprising for many people is this one here, digital currencies. Digital currencies, you will see a lot of ups and downs that will continue, but generally speaking, the trend or the success of digital currencies will not last. Yeah, it may remain and it will give you some profits over the next few months, maybe even 12, 18 months, but overall digital currencies are not going to be the most profitable market segment. I would not put all my money in there, let's put it this way. Now, what do you do if you actually are in one of these weakening industries? Obviously, it's very difficult to just completely switch into a new industry, especially if this is something that you've done forever. But what you can do is, let's say if you are in the publishing industry, then look that number one, obviously more and more publishing will go online. That is a no-brainer, that has happened already. But make sure that the clients, that your clients come from these industries, because the strong industries, those are the ones that have money. They have money to spend. So make sure if you are in one of the weakening industries, make sure that your clients, that your target customers are all in the strong industries. They have money to spend, and there you will actually find opportunities. Yeah, so this is, and then obviously slowly but surely try to pivot in such a way that you move over into one of these stronger industries, because this is not just for 2022, this is here to stay for the next 15 to 20 years. Now, in terms of animal signs, I know I always get a lot of questions about, oh, what is the tiger doing? What's the dragon doing? Whatever. There's a bit of a misconception when it comes to animal signs in Chinese astrology. Now, you can plot your birth chart, your animal or your Chinese astrology chart with this link here. I can also put it in the chat later, but you can just take a screenshot and then plot your chart. And essentially, what you will see is that while you may be born in an animal sign of the year, you also have an animal sign in the month and in the day and in the hour. And so even though you may be born in the year of the ox, all the other animal signs that you have in the chart also tell you something about your life in the year 2022. And so the animal sign in the year relates mostly to your industry, your social network, your social connections, your extended circle of friends, or even your extended family. The month, the animal sign that you have in a month tells you about what is going to happen for your career, your job environment, with your business partners, with your work colleagues, but also your siblings and your parents. The one in the day can give you information about how well you are doing in your personal life, health-wise, physical, mental, emotional health, but also with your spouse and in your marriage. And then the animal sign that you have in the hour can tell you about your relationship with your children this year, or with your employees, or how well your investments will be doing, or also about your goals, your dreams and ambitions. And so as you can see, the year you're born in is not necessarily the most important one. Most people want to know about money and relationships. So you would actually have to look at the month and the day for that, not the year. And also, what is important to see now, if you look at this, there are endless combinations within your natal chart. So just to say I'm born in the year of the ox, what is my luck like? I can't tell you in detail, because if it was just like that, then there would only be 12 different types of people. All the ox people in the world would have exactly the same kind of luck. So you need to actually relate all of these animal signs with each other, and then to the year of the tiger. What's their relationship? The same goes for questions like, what are the character traits of the tiger? There is no such thing. Character traits are actually determined by this part of the chart, which is what we call the heavenly stems. These are the character traits. So whether you are yin or yang metal, or yin or yang earth, or yin or yang fire, what kind of elements you have in the chart, that is actually what determines your character, your strengths and your weaknesses. This is not determined by the animal signs. Now, you can plot your chart on this link here and have actually a look at what animals you have in the chart. And then you can take a look at this ranking here. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the animal signs with the highest ranking, which is the pig, will be the luckiest. So if you have the pig in the chart, and you keep thinking, okay, well, I've got the pig in the chart, nothing bad can happen to me, then you are wrong. If you have the pig in the chart, it just means that you have the most auspicious energies, and you need to actually make use of those energies in the appropriate way. You still need to know what to do. You can have 100 opportunities, but if you don't take them, you're still unlucky. So if you are a pig, if you have a lot of pig in your chart, or even just one, and then you just sit on the sofa and think, well, I've got the luckiest sign of the year in my chart, I don't need to do anything, money is just going to fall from the sky. That's not how it works. You actually need to work much harder, because you need to make sure that all of those positive energies that you have in the chart come to you by virtue of you grabbing those opportunities. Conversely, if you have the dog or the rat or the dragon in the chart, maybe one or even two or three of them, they are considered the ones that have the least auspicious energies this year. However, if you can make use or turn the negative energies into a positive one by applying the right actions at the right time with the right activities, you can still have a better year than anybody who has 3 pigs in the chart and does absolutely nothing. So therefore, when I do a reading, I will tell you what you need to do and when you need to do it in order to maximize your chances, whether you have a pig or a rooster or an ox or a dog in the chart, doesn't matter. What matters is how you take advantage of the energies, and even the negative energies can be turned into a positive one. I'll give you an example. If one of the energies tells you you will become extremely forgetful in 2022. Yeah, that's obviously not so great. Yeah, you may forget a few details that are quite important. However, if you are someone who maybe went through a lot of trauma in life, then this is the year you can work on releasing that trauma, because it's easier for you to forget about negative things that have happened to you. So this is the year where you could seek some counseling or start talking to people about whatever it is that you went through and forget trauma. Yeah. So negative energies are not purely negative. It depends on how you use them. All right. Now, I want to also give you one of the dates that we are very much looking forward to if you want to tap into some of the lunar energies of the year. So as we all know, or well, as some of us know, the Chinese year of the tiger, the water tiger year, actually begins officially on the 4th of February, because according to Chinese astrology, the change to the new year always happens on the same day, the 4th of February of every year. That's a transition point. However, the Chinese New Year celebrations, they are being celebrated according to the lunar calendar. And this is why it's never the same date. Every year it changes, because the lunar calendar has missing months and double months and missing days, which is why we don't use it in regular life. It would be very confusing. But if you want to actually usher in the gods of wealth, happiness, and nobility, we go according to a particular lunar calendar tradition. And on February 1st, between 12:30 a.m. and 12:59 a.m., so it's the night between February 1st and February 2nd, there, in this half an hour time frame, you have very, very strong energies to usher in the gods of wealth, happiness, and nobility. So what you need to do is you take out a compass. We all have a mobile phone compass. Yeah. So take out a compass, you check where is the southeast, and you look towards the southeast. Yeah. So you stand in such a way that your face points towards the southeast. And then you can make a wish that is related to wealth. Again, be very specific, put a time frame to it, and be realistic. Don't say tomorrow I want to have 10 million Hong Kong dollars. Probably not going to happen. Yeah. So make it realistic, but you could say, like, look, this year in 2022, I want to achieve 15% more business profit than in 2021. Yeah. Make it very specific, make it wealth related. And then you turn to the south. Yeah. So after you've done that wealth wish, you turn to the south and you ask the God of nobility for help and assistance. The God of nobility brings helpful people into your life. Yeah. So helpful people that could help you in business, or maybe they're great teachers or mentors or whatever, somebody who can help you. You can wish that throughout the entire year 2022, there's always someone who is very helpful to you whenever you need them. And then you turn around again, you face northwest, and you just wish for a lot of happy events, celebrations, and joyful events with family and friends. Yeah, it doesn't have to take long, 1 to 2 minutes each. You turn around, face in each direction, you make a wish, and then at the end, you give a big thank you to these gods of wealth, happiness, and nobility, and that's it. So you don't need to make this a long, drawn out thing. Ideally, do it outside, because then you are actually exposing yourself to the lunar energies that are present on February 1st. So I will probably do that somewhere outside on a rooftop. You don't need to see the moon, but we are exposed to the lunar energies more if we are outside. And if you want to know more, you can just scan this QR code, learn a little bit more about the upcoming energy shift and why everything is moving towards digital and online, why we are actually going through this pandemic. There's a plan for that. We had to go through this. This is because we are moving towards this energy shift in 2024. So you can have a look more at that if you're interested, and otherwise just contact me here. I'll be happy to tell you more about the Year of the Water Tiger. If you want to get a reading, feel free to get in touch.
Wow, that was so interesting, Suzanne. And you are right. I mean, there's a lot of the things that you mentioned that even in normal life, but it's very nice to get that reminder of, if you are yourself already a lucky person, or you consider yourself a lucky person, but you sit down and you do nothing, well, things are not just going to come your way, or just rain. You're not going to have money raining on top of you. It just...
That would be lovely. I wouldn't be here if that was the case. I would be somewhere on a tropical island.
I know, and also, I love the part that you mentioned, that we have to focus our potential negative energies into something positive. The fact that we may be facing challenges doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. We need to find those possibilities, those new doors, and open them. And another of the things that I gathered that I really didn't know is that with astrology, we always celebrate the Chinese New Year on the same day. That it has to do with the lunar calendar. So that also explains. We had one of the questions from our guests here, that they were wondering why is it always different. So
yeah,
very well explained. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I know everybody has a lot of questions, but as you mentioned, you work individually with every person to curate and to give them the answers they need, because as you also said, we are all very different. We all have different backgrounds, and it wouldn't be fair for you or for anybody to think that this could be generalized. One of the things that I have is that in your chart, the one that we can populate, you're asking for the time of your birth. What if someone doesn't know exactly when they were born?
Still, a reading can be done. It's about 20% less accurate because the time is missing, unless you give me like very specific sort of events that have happened in your life, with which I can then probably back engineer the hour in which you were born. But it would have to be very, very drastic sort of events in your life. Otherwise, we can still do a reading. It's just, as I said, 20% less accurate. And it also depends on what questions you have. So if you are a female client and you want to know about when you're getting pregnant, or why you always have issues getting pregnant, and the time is missing, then this becomes very difficult, because the time, the hour, relates to your ability to have children, to bear children, what pregnancies look like, how many children you have, for example. So for a woman with those kinds of questions, that is actually quite an important aspect or detail that I will have to know. But if you want to know just about your personal life, relationships, career, just generally your industry or your network, job prospects, the hour is not necessarily needed for that.
Okay, so when we're talking about hours, can I tell you, I think it was between 2 and 2:30. Is that okay, or are you really?
That is okay, because the hours, so the Chinese hours actually cover 2 Western hours. Okay. So in Chinese astrology, there are only 12 hours, not 24. So unless you are just at a cutoff point where I would need to ask a little bit more questions, yes, that's okay. So if you say between 2 and 2:30, that's okay. That's still the same Chinese hour.
Okay, perfect. And you mentioned to me before that a standard reading takes around 60 minutes. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And does this depend on all the questions that someone may have, or it's depending on which information?
No, there's just that much information. I mean, anyway, there's a lot of information in a reading. So there's 2 different readings. Either you get a live reading where you have very specific questions. For example, I want to go into business at some point in the next 2-3 years. What industry would be best? How should I do it? When should I do the switch? So questions like that, or even I'm single, when is the best time to actually go look for someone? What is currently holding me back? Why am I not finding a person? So these are general life questions. That's one type of reading. And the second type of reading is what is everything, what everybody's getting now. It's basically just a forecast for 2022 for them specifically. Like, what do I have to do this year to be successful? What actions do I have to take? What are the risks and opportunities? And there I just really zoom in onto the 2022 and give all the risk, opportunities and everything. And so either way, there's a lot of information, and that's why it takes 60 minutes.
Okay. And what is the difference between that individual reading and when you go to someone's home?
Oh, that's a completely different thing. So there's Bazi astrology, and then there's Feng Shui. Feng Shui has nothing to do with astrology in that sense. Feng Shui is done for a building. Yeah, Bazi is done, or astrology is done for a person. So buildings and persons, different type of things, different types of methods. So when it comes to Feng Shui, we look at the environment, because that obviously affects you. So Feng Shui, the qi flow or the life energy is generated by mountains and water. You don't have that inside your house. So we look at the environment, how the mountains and the water align with your property, what kind of energies are entering your property, if they're even able to enter. That will give us a long-term prospect over what is happening within your property energetically and with the qi flow. And then on top of that, we layer the annual energies, because there's obviously each year you are affected by a different qi flow that is very short-term, that is just annual, and is an additional layer. And so we can combine that with astrology in the sense that if you want to make a job, if you have in your astrology chart a job change or a career change, we can actually bring in more opportunities by triggering the Feng Shui, the qi points in your house, to make sure that instead of maybe just 1 offer, you get 5. Yeah, so this is how we layer this on top.
Oh, Suzanne, so interesting. And again, as I said, I know everybody would like to have all these questions answered, but you know how to contact Suzanne now. Also remember that the fact that you are a specific sign doesn't mean, because of the year, much. You have to go in depth, and you really would have to talk to the experts so they can guide you better and let you know what would be the luckiest things to do for yourself in this year of the water tiger and maybe beyond. We are running out of time. It's been so wonderful, short but very, very sweet and very, very interesting. I'm sure that everybody here had a great time. If there's no other questions, if nobody has put anything in the chat box, but later on, again, as Suzanne is very kind to give us her contact, you can contact her directly or through the Mexican Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong team, and we will help you to connect with our experts. Have a good evening, and we'll chat to you at another event. Thank you very much again, Suzanne, and thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you as well. It was a pleasure.
Take care.
You take care as well. Bye-bye.